our podcast, Broker Banner Denver, where we are breaking down barriers to home ownership. I'm your host, Kim Davis, the real estate expert.
And I'm Patrick Williams, the mortgage guy. We're here to inform and educate about the home buying and financing process.
And on today's podcast, we are going to go over September 2024 numbers and also what is going on in real estate around the Denver metro area.
Yeah, so just got back from Chicago.
Yeah, I know. You and the fam, yeah?
Yeah, so me and my two girls went out there to look at some schools.
Yeah,
So
how was it?
Chicago's a cool town.
Yeah, have you never been?
Nope.
Really?
No, I've never been to
First time
Chicago. Have you been to Chicago?
Yeah, many times.
Many?
I used to have a ex-boyfriend who we met in Denver, and he went out to Chicago for a job, so I went out there a lot back in my early 20s.
Okay, so it's been like 5 years at least. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you told me you were going to take the architecture tour.
Yeah, we did that. We did some touristy
cool
stuff while we were there as well. Yeah.
I like that tour.
It's awesome.
I've taken it a couple times.
Yeah, the river going through the city, and now they have the River Walk, which is really cool area. There's a lot of like bars and stuff you can hang out and have dinner right on the river. So we did that, and then we also went up to the Sears Tower, which is no longer Sears Tower.
Oh.
It's called the Willis Tower.
Okay.
But nobody from Chicago cares that it's called the Willis Tower. It's still called the Sears Tower. So like everybody just still calls it Sears.
Isn't there something John Hancock building? Is
I
that
don't know
the
about
Sears
that one.
Tower too? Was it used to be?
I don't think so.
I think it was. No? Okay.
No, the Sears Tower it was the world's largest building for 25 years.
Right.
So they have this observation deck, like, on Ferris Bueller.
Right.
They go up there and right. But now it's totally different. They've built these glass boxes on the outside of the building, and you basically like walk out into them, and you can look 103 stories down, which is kind of crazy. So
there's a picture I think that you may have seen that Jay has, like where he's doing a push-up.
Oh,
and it's right there on the.
Yeah, my wife did a handstand.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm not doing that. No, so we went at night, right as the sun was setting. So we got to see, and it was right after the whole supermoon. And so we could see the moon over Lake Michigan and the whole cityscape. It was really cool.
Lake Michigan's pretty cool, huh? It's like a freshwater ocean.
It is. What gets better? What's better than a freshwater ocean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So two of the schools that we visited, Loyola and Northwestern, are right on Lake Michigan. Yeah. And then University of Chicago is a really cool school. It's actually started by Rockefeller, if you knew that.
I didn't.
I don't know if you guys know, but he had a little bit of money. And I think at one point he was the richest person in the world. Yeah. But he wanted it to look like Oxford or Cambridge and some of these. And so when they built a lot of the buildings, he built them in that old style architecture.
Okay.
But then he also aged them. So made them look older. So it looks like a very old campus.
Well, and a lot of people like that reclaimed barnwood. I mean, not so much now, but that was a trend, maybe 10 years ago?
Yeah.
When everyone was getting, the shiplap
farm,
walls
and
the farmer, where you make things new. And
Chip and Joanna Gaines were huge. Yeah.
And I remember, my husband Jay, he worked on a big project. I think it was Google, and they were getting like reclaimed wood, and
that's crazy. There was one cathedral where we started the tour, and massive organs and huge. Yes. And I think that was called like the Rockefeller or something. Okay. So we had a good time. Yeah. It was nice.
Now Chicago, great city, just not in the winter. A little too cold.
I tried to warn my daughter. I'm like, you should probably come out here in January when you don't see the sun for weeks at a time. Yes. And you're right on the lake. So it's going to be absolutely freezing.
The funny thing is that is how, what would you say, 90% of the United States lives in the winter is
I think, cloudy. I mean, the Midwest is typically that way. The Northeast is that way. Yeah. I think we're spoiled here in Colorado. We also, it's very dry here. Right. So not only do we
we age quicker.
Yeah, you got to moisturize. But the cold is not as cold. Like when there's humidity with the cold, it just like it's like
worst.
Your bones hurt. It's like to the bone cold, So I don't know that my daughter's ready for that, but we'll find out.
Maybe she's young.
Yeah,
she can handle it.
Resilient, right? We'll buy her one of those like parkas that go down to like her.
Well, we have that
her
here
shins.
in Colorado, and then we're all wusses when we leave anywhere for the winter to go anyplace.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think Colorado's really cold and snowy.
That's fine.
And we're just gonna leave it that way.
Yeah, we leave it that way.
Yeah, especially up in the mountains. What about you? What have you been up to?
I know. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but we took like a 3-week break. And I think that moving forward, for the rest of the year, we might only do a few more and then wait until after the new year and start season 2.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we're entering in as we get closer to the holidays. Usually things really slow down and there's just not as much going on.
But I think we'll still give you guys the market update per month, just so that you can know what's going on in the Denver market and
interest rate updates.
Yeah,
kind of where we're at
and
there.
Then we'll start back up probably end of January, and that's when the market starts to pick up again, and keep you guys up to date on what's going on. But if of course anything breaks or things are changing, we'll definitely do a podcast for if there's any big exciting news like the Fed dropping rates, which hasn't helped. And not at the same time.
We can talk about that during the interest rate update if you want, or I could go into that now. Up to you.
It's up to you.
I'm guessing the numbers from September are probably more interesting than what I'm saying.
Well, we'll talk about it so that way if anyone does fast forward through our podcast, why would you do that?
You're missing out.
You'll know that the interest update's usually at the end.
That's right.
But no, we gosh, what did we do? We had a family reunion with my husband's side. We went up to Glenwood Springs.
No, your husband has a pretty big family.
He does. He is one of 7.
Wow.
Or 8. 7.
Yeah.
8.
That is a big family. So the whole family.
The whole sibling side, right? And
Yeah.
the kids that were around and not, just went up. We don't do that actually very often. And so
that's great.
Yeah, we did that. And we're working on our flip still. We just put it on the market. So if anyone's looking for a house in Applewood, check that out.
Applewood is a fantastic neighborhood on the west side of town, close to downtown, close to the mountains, 76.
Right. Everyone keeps asking us to post more TikToks. We only did one with an update. So we're like, okay, we need to do that.
Probably time for an update.
Yeah, it's been 2 or 3 months. So we'll do that.
These guys, you got to know though, like they basically gutted this house. Like it was all the way down to the studs. And they are basically rebuilding it from the inside out, and it's going to be amazing.
It's beautiful. It's already beautiful. Yeah. We moved some walls. Some structural engineers had to come in, approve
Vaulted some ceilings.
Which brings it, it's a 1950s house that we're bringing into,
2025.
4, 5.
We're almost 25. Yeah, close enough. It's a nice round number.
Exactly.
We like round numbers around here.
Yes, we do. And we're told that's what we should talk about, round numbers, and not always be so specific.
Who said that?
I don't know.
We appreciate your feedback.
Yes.
So what about these numbers? How are we looking? What's the Denver market doing?
Well, September's numbers are out, and so because we took a few weeks off, they're a little bit behind, but we wanted to make sure to give them to you guys. So it's doing a little bit as far as activities. There's more homes on the market, so I don't know if that's worse, but it's good for buyers.
It is good for buyers. Yeah, absolutely. More inventory is always good for buyers. Gives you leverage, gives you more options.
Yeah, it does. So last month, there was 10,724 homes on the market. And now at the end of September, there was 11,115. So compared to September of last year, there was about just over 7,600. So as you can see, still, as we said, 30 days before you can see change. And so we had that little interest rate that kind of went down. So I think we're going to see possibly in October, we're going to see more homes that maybe went under contract.
Yeah.
What happened in September was we had a closed 3,092 closed in September, but if you looked at August numbers, it was about 3,800. So you can see that things kind of slowed down in the month of September, which we were feeling that in September. And then we felt, in October, I'm sure more houses have gone under contract this month. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, I think our active listings are going to stay kind of high just because my phone has been ringing and it's mostly listings. People who've been waiting for the market to kind of pick up, which is an odd time usually. Usually October, November, we start to see our real estate market slow down. But as you said, things are picking up earlier than usual, but they also slowed down.
Right. August, I
year.
think there were a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happened with rates.
Absolutely.
As soon as the Fed decided they wanted to cut, then people moved. And so there was almost like 2 months worth of people that decided to either list or to jump in the market as a buyer, that happened after that Fed rate cut.
And I think what we should say, and we probably say this all the time, but to sellers, don't freak out that your house is on the market for 60, 90 days. That's the norm. Back when pre-COVID, and even before even that, the norm was 3-4 months of inventory, and your house sat there for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, but it's hard to go from 5 full price offers in the first weekend to, you have to be comfortable sitting 60, 90 days, right?
Absolutely.
I think we can understand why people are having a hard time making that adjustment.
And it was a quick adjustment, right? It went from, hey, we have to wait 30 days for a house to sell, right? In 19, we started to get that 1 to 2 month inventory, and then all of a sudden selling in hours. And then realtors said, okay, let's give you the weekend. So then it was like selling 2 to 3 days. Yeah. And then to go from 2 to 3 days, and then all of a sudden it went from a week to 2 months. Yeah. That's how it felt like.
Well, and especially if who you're working with isn't able to anticipate the market, you list a little high. Those listings, if you are not priced correctly, I think if you're priced correctly, things are still moving.
Absolutely.
I had a buyer go under contract last night. The house was on the market 4 days. Yeah. And he got a full price offer, right? They offered full price for that property they wanted to buy.
I had a house just recently. It was listed for less than a week, got a little bit over asking.
It's still there.
It's still there.
There's still like an undercurrent of a very strong market. But people who list like it's 2023 or 2022, those houses are sitting.
Right. You just have to, get a professional who can tell you the market. But that being said, I think there are some realtors that maybe aren't full-time realtors that are like, hey, you need to price it under and you're going to get multiple offers. That's not really the market. And can it happen? Absolutely.
Not today, though.
Not today.
Right.
We are seeing more price drops. And so speaking of that, we'll just share, the closed average price from September to August actually went down. The average price was $707,000 in August, and it went down to $672,000. Wow. So what does that mean? Probably, people adjusting price, but that's, month over month, that's just under a 5% change in price. And maybe more townhomes and condos are selling, more first-time home buyers are getting that opportunity to get in, which of course, we need.
We do. I think this is just the market adjusting, right? Exactly. Like affordability has to break somewhere. Right. And when interest rates are so high, prices can't continue to elevate the way they have been. Right. Something has to give, right?
But that being said, we are still growing in equity, 2 to 3%. Yes, it may be less than our 15, 20%, but that can have kept on going. And we don't want it to.
You have to look at it as long term too, right? It's not a get rich quick kind of scenario. It's a buy and hold scenario for most people, and so maybe there are years that are flat or maybe negative. But if you're looking at a 5-year perspective where you're going to be in a home, you will most likely see that appreciation in that home and probably fairly substantial.
Yeah, exactly. Warren Buffett still says that it's the best investment that you can make.
It is.
Right? It's better than stocks. It's better than...
Yeah, and the 30-year mortgage. Yeah. Here's the thing about a 30-year mortgage that people don't really understand, and this is kind of what Warren Buffett was talking about, was it's a win-win. There is no lose with the 30-year mortgage because right now, you lock in a 30-year rate, great. That's your rate for the next 30 years if that's what you want it to be. Now, rates come down, guess what?
You get a refi.
Get it lower, and then you got that rate again for 30 years. So there is no real lose situation with the 30-year mortgage. And I don't know if people actually know this, but the 30-year mortgage is not available
Everywhere
all around the
in the
world.
world.
Like America has the 30-year mortgage, and it is an amazing product, and we should really be thankful for it
Right.
here.
And,
Yeah.
and I think that, we are in the middle of, an election year. And so
We
you
are?
see,
I didn't
crazy.
even know
We
that.
are not going to talk politics, but both candidates are running on home affordability. And
Well, it's
how
a huge
they're
issue.
It's a huge
yeah,
issue.
it's a huge
throughout
issue no
the
matter what
country.
side of the aisle you like to be on. It's a big issue. People need to be able to buy homes. I mean, it's called the American dream for a reason.
Exactly.
That is it.
Exactly.
That's the step that you take when.
Well, and that is the first step to building wealth for your
Absolutely.
family long term, right? If you can not now, where people can get into trouble is if they want to sell quickly,
Right.
And we are seeing a little bit of that. People who bought maybe 2 years ago and they are wanting to sell right now. We are seeing maybe a slight loss only because, we say that investments you really should. You should hold on for 5 years, I say, but usually you can get out
2
in
years.
2 to 3 years.
Well, in 2
and be
years,
okay.
there's some tax implications that
Yes.
come into play if you're not living in the home
Correct.
for a full
Correct.
2 years. So
Correct.
that's something to take into
Now,
consideration
of course,
as well.
the very recent past, last few years, you could sell in a year and be fine. But, we're starting to see, hey, someone who maybe bought 2 years ago, especially
Yeah.
in a condo or a
Yep.
townhouse, you're seeing that maybe those prices are not quite what you bought them for 2 years. Now, if they held on another few years, they'd probably be fine.
Right.
But that's when you can get in a little bit of trouble. I would say homes probably are fine from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I would think so.
But anyway, so just to get back to the numbers, so the active listings at month end of September was about 7,600, and then in August they were about 7,500. So like we said, these numbers I think will change once we see October numbers, which should be coming out here in the next few weeks. But
Are you anticipating October's numbers to go up again?
I'm anticipating that closed will probably have gone up, and that might be November's numbers even because people are probably getting under contract in October.
Yeah.
And then locked in, and then we'll see all those closings
Yeah.
in November. So I think maybe October, November we'll see. But as you can see, we're seeing this trend, and real estate's always 30 days behind.
It's always 30 days behind. And I think that's where you and I can kind of speak to what we're seeing as far as activity today, because the
Correct.
activity that we are seeing today, my buyer who went under contract last night, not closing until the 22nd.
Right.
So that's not going to be, we won't get that closing in these numbers
Right.
until December.
Right. And the fact that my phone is ringing, people
Right.
are wanting to
Yeah.
list, those are all
Yeah, I think it's indicators of the things to come. We can transition into interest rates if you'd like. Or do you have
Sure.
anything more that you
I
wanted
mean,
to share?
not really, just things, as far as active listings, very small change. As far as like closed average price and median price, they went down just slightly. I think we touched on that. Days on market, I think we keep talking about days on market.
Yeah.
And so they have gone up since last month, but not by very much.
Not terrible.
Yeah, the average is only up by a day, but the median is up by 4 days. And so I think we could see that in October just tick up just a little bit, but your average days unattached are about 45 days before things are,
All said and done.
all said and done.
And then
Yeah.
on single family
Getting-
is what?
Single family is, detached is 37 average.
Okay.
So over a month before you get under contract.
But
You
we're still, that's not,
That's
an
still
imbalanced
great.
market.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
And really what is about is just educating the public on, hey, these are expectations. Your expectations, if the average
Yep.
is 37 days, your expectation, if you list a house right now, especially going into the holidays, I think you should count on 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
If you're priced right.
If you're priced right. Listing through the holidays is tough. Let's just
It
be
is.
honest.
It is tough.
However, I think there's an advantage right now because I do think there's some motivated buyers out there.
Absolutely.
And so, whether that means you ask for a post-occupancy agreement and you stay through the holidays and then you move in
Right.
January or what have you. Like,
Or kick people out before Christmas and
when I
and
was at
Hanukkah,
okay,
and
so
you could-
I'll just say this. When I worked for the home builders, right?
Yes.
We ran on a calendar year, not a fiscal year, which I loved because December was our busiest month
Yes.
of the year because it was let's close out as much inventory as we possibly can.
Right.
And I will tell you, the builder did not care. You were moving. We're closing in December.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is.
Well,
but
they have empty houses, so you're not
it's a little different because
families.
there's not as
Right.
many moving pieces, right?
Right.
Like you don't have people moving out to move
Right.
in, but no, they're closing in December.
And they're like, "Merry Christmas! I bought you a new house."
Yeah. Do they put the bows on it? You know how like those ridiculous car
You're
commercials
putting
are
it
where
for-
like, hey honey,
No,
I bought you a car.
They don't. No, there's no.
That would
no.
be a really cool. That'd be a big bow. How ridiculous is that though? Can we talk about that for a minute?
What? How?
Like
The bow?
Like no, like buying a car for your spouse for Christmas. So, hey, honey, I just went behind your back and made a huge financial decision without you knowing. Merry Christmas.
I think there are people who are in maybe a different financial bracket
Oh,
than us
okay.
that can do that.
Okay.
And it may not be that
maybe
big of
maybe
a
I'll get there
issue.
one day.
Yeah.
Where it's not a huge financial decision that my wife would not be
Yeah.
really happy about.
It's, hence buy some real estate, build some wealth.
There you go.
Maybe you can be there in
Good
10
advice,
years.
Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No, so thank you for those numbers. I do think we're kind of in the lull rates, holidays. I still anticipate the spring buying season next year to be
Right. We're
very
still
active.
hoping that the Fed and the interest rates could get into the fives at the beginning of the year of 2025. Of course, we predicted that in 2024. and
We
that
did,
didn't happen.
yeah, and
And-
interesting segue. Thank you.
Take it with a grain of salt.
What?
Isn't that the saying? Take it with a
Grain of salt, yeah.
salt?
Yes, it is. That is the
Okay.
saying. So, let's just talk about interest rates.
Okay,
a little
I
bit.
thought we were.
Yeah, that was a good segue. So, the Fed cut rates.
Correct.
We celebrated. We
Yes.
actually popped some champagne.
We did.
We're
were
like,
very excited.
"Woo!"
Woo, it's happening.
Yes. So since that point,
And then the breaks, kind of.
so let's just talk about right. We've talked about what is.
Right. So the Fed rate is not
No,
in
we
direct
look at the
correlation with-
Treasury 10-year is the
Correct.
most closely associated to mortgage backed securities, right? So when the Fed cut, that 10-year was at 360, 362.
Yes.
The 10-year since that point
Has gone up.
yeah, considerably. We're currently sitting at 422 right now.
which when they cut rates, we were at like what?
3.6.
Three-
Yeah, 3.6. No,
3.6.
3.62. So we're up by about 60 basis points.
Right.
So we were seeing rates right at that point. Basically, the lowest point for interest rates was the days leading up to the Fed rate
Correct.
cut. As soon as that Fed rate cut hit, we had some news come out about jobs, right? The Fed actually talked about, hey, we're worried about the labor market. We're
Right.
seeing some cracks. This is why we're cutting. And so shortly thereafter, the next jobs report came out, and guess what? That number was great.
Right.
Unemployment went down over expectations, and now everybody's like, well, the Fed doesn't have anything to worry about. The jobs market is fantastic.
So they may not cut in November.
That is currently the situation that we're looking at. Yeah.
And we'll see what happens in December. But as we said, it's an election year. Weird
Yeah.
things happen in election years. So try
There's a
not
lot
to
of volatility.
Yeah,
No.
don't panic. I think in the end, everything.
So-
they're wanting to revamp the housing market, as we've said, because if the economy is really not doing great, which I know jobs market is up, but
Well, I don't know. I still am not convinced that we are going to nail this soft landing. I'm still not convinced. I think we've got another jobs report coming out next week, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic.
Right.
But I think there's just some things that maybe we're ignoring that we don't want to look at. I mean, the Fed or the Dow is actually down 420 points as we're talking right now.
Right.
And it hasn't been a very good week on the market. So I think a lot of people are taking their money and putting it into bonds, which is a safer investment, and the return on those is higher, 60 basis points higher than it was a
Right.
couple weeks ago. So that drives
Can you
mortgage
just
mortgage rates.
Yeah. So like we said, even though the Fed and that gets all the news, right? And people think that it directly correlates with mortgages, as we keep saying, it does not.
It It does and doesn't, right?
Right.
It's not. I mean,
Usually
the big
they-
difference. The big difference is that the 10-year in the bond market is forward looking. The Fed is backwards looking.
Correct.
And so what the bond market does is they try to anticipate and they're quick at responding to where the Fed is slow and backward looking.
Correct.
So I do think the trend for 2025 is continued rate cuts. How many and how quickly, that's yet to be seen.
Right.
There's a lot of information to come. Obviously, election year has a big part of it, in whichever administration is brought into the White House. So I think it's just good to kind of keep our eyes on it.
And speaking of
I'm still encouraged. I still have
Right.
people shopping. I still have people locking in. I do think that as we get closer to the end of the year and the beginning of the next year, we'll see them come back down, hopefully back to the point they were when the Fed started to cut.
Right. And Denver is continuing to build and having,
Speaking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just on Monday, the Ball Arena expansion, which looks incredible.
Yes.
The Ball Arena expansion, where they're basically going to take all the parking lots and I think Elitch Gardens,
Yes.
Between Ball Arena and Empower Field, and they're going to turn it into this like amazing metropolis of sports activity and rental
and
property.
residential,
Yeah,
and Kroenke agreed to it.
yeah,
which, 'cause
open
they owned all
space
that
and
land.
parks and I mean Kroenke. I don't know.
And they're going to put in some affordable housing in
Yeah,
there.
they've committed to quite a bit of affordable housing. Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but Kroenke is one of the richest sports teams owners. I mean, he owns not only the Nuggets and the Avs, but also the LA Rams.
Yes.
Yeah. And doesn't he own a soccer team like the United or something too?
No, Colorado Rapids.
that's
Not
not-
Rapids. I'm sorry, Mammoth. He owns lacrosse. Mammoth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that.
That is not true. That is not true.
I think
you don't
I've
care
been to
about
a
it.
Mammoth game. I think I have. It's actually a lot of fun to go watch. No, I think he also owns like one of the major soccer teams in England.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's United or which one
Okay,
it is.
no.
I think it might be the
It's who?
Richmond
Arsenal.
The Arsenal. Thank you, Jesse, for that.
Who's
I was
Arsenal?
gonna say the
soccer.
Richmond Greyhounds.
Is that
those-
from Ted
from
Lasso?
Ted Lasso, yeah.
I love Ted
Yeah,
Lasso.
yeah, such a good
so
show.
sad. I thought okay. Anyways, I think they're about to have another
I heard.
launch of Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
or
I heard
something
they're
like
gonna
that.
do
Yeah.
season 4.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I hope
I know.
they do
Ted
that.
Lasso's
And
such
did
a
you
great
see?
show.
Speaking of TV shows, they are there's a new Yellowstone coming out.
Yeah, I think
to wrap it up. So
Well,
it'll
and
be
I don't think Kevin
interest-
Costner is a part of it. is
Right,
he?
I don't think he is, but
Yeah.
it'll be
I do
interesting
love
to
Yellowstone,
see
though.
how they wrap that up, which I have been waiting for. It's been like 2 years.
Well, it's been
Okay.
forever because it was the first half, and now we're waiting on the second half of that season. It's been Anyways,
But anyways, look at that.
so the Ball Arena expansion,
Right.
and all of that's going to go into that. I'm not sure if they're keeping Elitch Gardens or what's happening
No,
there.
Elitch's is already moving. They're done. That has been,
That's been
getting
established,
moved.
right?
It would be kind of cool if it goes back to the original, which I'm sure it won't. Where
What was
Elitch
it?
Garden
38th
was.
and Tennyson, maybe?
Yeah, Tennyson.
I don't remember. I was so young. It moved
oh.
downtown in like 92 or 3. I still remember the old Elitch Gardens.
I do,
though.
too.
But the
And
sky,
I went
the
there.
sky ride that went in, and it was so much. It was big, and all these gardens and open space. It was so much. But everybody thought it was cool when it moved downtown.
I know
Yeah.
they did, and it was a lot bare over there. And now you can see.
Well,
how
and
it's
Ball
built
Arena
up.
wasn't there,
Right,
Or the
exactly.
Pepsi Center when they
Pepsi
built
Center,
it, and
yep.
and now it's crazy to think it was still kind of out. It was like in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
when they
And-
built it.
Yeah, and now look at it; it's crazy. So,
Yeah, so they're going to
anyways,
do quite a bit of stuff. They're going to put early childhood education centers, a lot of small business opportunities for people. Like you said, they're going to do some low income housing. A lot of green space is going to run through it, and it's going to connect Empower Field and Ball Arena, which is funny, though, because I don't know how much longer Empower Field's going to be there. It sounds like I've heard the Walter Penner Group wants to do something different.
But they are kind of related. There's
There's like a marriage.
there's a marriage that
Isn't that
in
connected the families?
Kroenke
Was it arranged? Was it like
Someone
in
in
the old
Kroenke
days?
is, no, they're, well,
I'm just saying.
Penner
like-
is Walmart, right?
No, right.
Or Walton Group
Yeah.
is, right, they're Walmart. And there's, I think, a Walton who married into the Kroenke family.
That
Or
makes
I
sense.
think
yeah.
that's what it is.
No, I think I've heard that
Yeah.
too. I just meant, or were they trying to combine the powerful families? Like
I think
in, like,
they're
Game of
trying,
Thrones
but I
or
don't know
something?
if that's, we'll
Okay.
see. Who knows what family dynamics are?
We don't know. We're just
anyways, it looks
speculating.
like they're going to do kind of like a Central Park kind of thing with the, which
Yeah,
is
it goes
kinda
like a
cool.
lot of
Yeah.
green space that runs through the middle, and then
Yeah.
we look, Cherry Creek. They're redoing
Right.
Cherry Creek North. There's a lot of stuff happening there. There's a lot of stuff happening just to the south and
north.
west.
And
north.
west, there's some building up west. Bandemere, if you guys remember Bandemere, they're turning all that into housing.
Are they doing housing?
Yep, that all moved to by the airport. Bandemere bought land
Yeah, I
by the
actually just
airport.
read something that their last day of business. They didn't do any racing there all summer.
Right.
Last year was kind of the end of that, but they were still running their offices and everything.
Uh-huh.
Their last day of business at Bandemere was just last week. I think.
Oh, really?
I saw.
I thought it was done, but yeah. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting what's happening on the west side, north. So as I've said before, drive until you qualify. If you can't find anything in the Denver metro area, you just need to go just slightly south, east, west, north.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised at what you can find. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Give us a call if you need help. You have any questions about qualifying, I'd be glad to take a look at your situation. The worst I can say is maybe not right now. Right?
That's right.
Right. We'll
And
here are
this
the
is what
steps
you
we need to
do.
take. Exactly.
And we're going to lead you on the right path. But once again, great time for buyers.
Great time for buyers. And with that, I think we'll call it.
We're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you found this one informational, please give us a like, share us. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
YouTube.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it
I can
has
tell
been
we're a
while.
little rusty. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.